neighborhood game, and it took a lot of time, and we managed to do some of it, but we didn't do actually everything. We didn't clarify everything, right? I think you can still remember. So, okay, let's look at the table again today. So we have square and square root table, right? So number one, square. Let's look at the first line, first table. We have squares. So squares basically means to the power of 2, right? So number one, we have 1. 1, it says 2 to the power of 2. 1 to the power of 2. So that basically means 1 multiplied by 1. Not 1 multiplied by 2, but 1 multiplied by 1. That means 1 to the power of 2. It's 1 multiplied by 1. So let's go to another example. We have 2 to the power of 2. So 2 to the power of 2. Okay, let's use number 3 because 2 to the power of 2 is the same thing as 2 multiplied by 2, right? So let's go to number 3. 3 to the power of 2. So 3 to the power of 2, it is not 3 multiplied by 2. It's not 3 multiplied by 2. 3 to the power of 2 means that you will say 3 multiplied by 3, right? That's basically your squares, which is 3 to the power of 2, right? So let's go to the square root. So the numbers goes on and on and on and on and on, right? So let's go to the square root. Square root, let's do the first one. Square root of 1 is 1, right? Let's go to the second one. Let's go to number 3 because 2, I don't usually like using 2 as my example because it's quite obvious. Okay, so let's go to the third one, which is square root of 9. So square root of 9, basically, square root of 9 is 3. And when you say 3 multiplied by 3, it gives you 9. And the square root of 9 equals to 3. So to get your square root, basically, they said 3 multiplied by 3, and we got 9, right? Okay, and yeah, okay. So let's go to our, you can look at this table, guys. It doesn't change. It stays the same way. The numbers doesn't change. If the square root of 9 is 3, it will never be 2. It will stay the same way. So let's go to our examples and actually do the calculations, right? So guys, the first one here, number A, you see number A right here. I'll only do number A because most of this example we did it yesterday. Today, we're just planning the activities, right? So number A, it says open bracket 2 of third, close bracket, to the power of 2. So that basically means we have this one fractions by itself. So we'll multiply this particular fraction by itself. So we'll have 2 of third multiplied by 2 of third. That's basically when we break it down. That's basically inside our bracket. When we break it down, we'll have 2 of third multiplied by 2 of third. And then, when we multiply, when we multiply the ordinary way. But first thing first, you must simplify before you can continue with your multiplication first. Simplify meaning that you must get your highest common factor. You still remember, right? Simplifying means that you must get your highest common factor, but in this case, we can't simplify 2 and 3, and we cannot simplify another 2 and 3, right? So we'll multiply it the traditional way. So when we do that, you know that multiplication of fractions is quite easy. The only thing you need to do or you need to know is to get your highest common factor. Simplifying your fractions, basically, you need to simplify them first before you can proceed, right? You can simplify them at the beginning, or you can get your highest common factor after multiplying your fractions, right? So here, obviously, we'll have 2 multiplied by 2. There we go. And then we'll have 3 multiplied by 3. There we go. And that's our proper fraction. We can't simplify it any further. And we do simplify our improper fractions to mixed fractions. And you know, a mixed fraction is our whole number and our proper fraction, right? So I'm thinking of doing number B again for those who are new. Number B, and then we'll proceed to our class activity. So number B, we have 1/3 second to the power of 2 subtract 1/2 to the power of 3. So we have brackets. Our fractions are in brackets, right? You can see that there. So let's break the first one down. Let's break it down firstly. Right. And you know, when you have to the power of 2, it means multiplication, right? When we have 2 to the power of 2, it means that it's 2 multiplied by 2. Or you, in your calculator, you can just, you do have a pointer there, like a button there. If you have a Casio, I know you have your calculator there with you. You can see x to the power of 2, right? And then we have another function there on our Casio. We have x to the power of, and there's a box right there. So that box right there, you can customize your own numbers. Now, let's say you did press that x. Let's press that x, and then you can customize your number. Let's put 2, and there on the small box up there, you can also press any number that you want, 3 or 2 or whatever. That's customization. You can customize your own numbers, but then to the x to the power of 2, it only gives you 2. And then on your Casio, we also have another one to the power of 3, right? Okay, so let's do this one then. So let's break the first fractions. So when we do break the first fractions, we'll have 1/2 multiply by 1/2, and then we'll say subtract. We'll obviously subtract now because we needed to subtract, right? We'll say subtract another fraction, and the fractions are the same numbers. You can see that right here, just that this one, it says to the power of 3, not to the power of 2, right? So we'll have, when we break it down again, we'll have 1/2 multiplied by 1/2 multiplied by 1/2. 1, 2, 3. You can see that. Let's name it 1, 2, and 3. We are naming it. Fine. Done with this section and done with this section. So now let's So now let's multiply it the way we know it. Because you know, when we multiply, we do what we know, and and in this case, we are not simplifying anything because you can see the numbers right here. We have 1 and 2. We can't simplify 1 and 2. We can use 1 as our highest common factor, but it won't have any effect, right? Okay, so let's multiply. When we do multiply, we'll start with the first one right here. We'll say 1 multiplied by 1 equals to 1. And then we'll say 2 multiplied by 2 equals to 4. So we are done with the first one. All right. So let's go to the second one. So when we do move to the second one, we'll say 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, which is 8. You can do it in your calculator just to verify, which is 8. 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, which is 8. Not 2 multiplied by 3, because you see 2 3s. No, you must say 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, or just 2 to the power of 3, and then you will get your 8, right? So here we have 1/4 minus 1/8. So what we need to do, we need to subtract. Right. So when we do subtract and when we add, you know that you must get your lowest common multiple. So when we do want our lowest common multiple, so our lowest common multiple in this case, it must be a number that goes into 8 and 4, right? And our lowest common multiples must be above 8. It's either 8 or above 8. Nay. Okay, so our lowest common multiple in this case is 8, right? So our lowest common multiple, let's do it here. It's 8. Fine. And then on here, we'll say, because when we did find our lowest common multiple for the first fractions, we moved 2 times. So 8 divided by 4 equals to 2. So we'll say, we basically said 4 multiplied by 2 equals to 8. 4 multiplied by 2. And what we do on your numerator, we also do on our denominator. So we'll have 2 multiplied by 1 and 2 multiplied by 4. So we'll obviously have 2. This is our 2, and we'll have our 8. So we'll have our lowest common multiple, which is 8. Right. Now we need to subtract because we are done finding our lowest common multiple. Right. So then let's do it then, because our denominator did not change. We have found our lowest common multiple. So we'll have 2 minus 1, which is 1, and then our denominator does not change. We keep it, right? So let's move to the activity. So this one, guys, this is our square root. So we'll start with number A, and then we'll move to number B, right? So number A, we have a mixed fraction, right? Mixed fraction, which is our whole number, and our proper fractions, right? So here's our 1 and 9 over 16. So you know what we need to do in this case. To convert your mixed fraction to your improper fraction, you know what you need to do. So basically we'll say 16. Let's multiply right here. We can use green ink. 16 multiply by 1 plus 9. And you know that our numerator does change. Our denominator do not change, right? So let's do it then. 16 multiplied by 1 equals to 16. And then 16 plus 9 equals to 25, right? So now we have 25 over 16. So now, since we are working with our square root, we must find our square root for 25 and also find our square root for 16, right? We must find our square root for 25 and also find our square root for 16. So let's do it then. So let's do it. Square root for 25 equals to what? Equals to 5. Our square root for 25 is 5. You can do it in your calculator, guys. Square root for 25 equals to 5, right? So there goes our 5. Here's our 5, right? So our square root for 16 equals to 4. And to verify if your numbers are correct, so square root basically means it's that particular number multiplied by the very same number, and then you will have your square root. So here we have 5, right? So when we say 5 multiplied by 5, it will give us 25. That's when you will know you are correct. Right. But if, for example, let's say you were calculating a square root for 25 and your answer is 3. And when you say 3 multiplied by 3, it doesn't give you 25. Then basically it's not correct and you must go back and rectify your mistakes. Right. So our square root for 25 is 5 and our square root for 16 is 4. So obviously we have our fraction, which is 5 over 4 equals to, which is 5 over 4. And that's our improper fraction. It's not a proper fraction. It's an improper fraction, right? So since it's an improper fraction, you know, when we do have improper fraction, we simplify it and convert it to our mixed fraction, right? So let's do it then. How many 4s do we have in 5? Like, how many 4s do we get in 5? How many 4? There's only one 4 inside of 5. How many 4? How many times does 4 goes into 5? I'm just trying to simplify it for you guys. How many times does 4 goes into 5? It goes how many times? Yes, it goes only once. This is our answer right here. It only goes one time. There's only one 4 inside our 5, right? So what is the remaining number after that? The remaining number is 1, because after we received our 4, how many numbers will be left? Only 1, not 2, because we only have 5, and 5 minus 4 equals to 1. The remaining number is 1. So obviously we'll have our 1 over 4, and we keep our denominator. Our denominator does not change. We keep it, right? So let's move on to the second one. So the second one we have number B. So number B, we have the first one, which is this one, and here, right here. So the first one, we have a positive, like it's not negative at all. We have our positive fraction. So our positive fraction is 4 over 9. And you know that when we have a fraction like this, for example, like number A, we basically did the same thing. So we need to find our square root for 4 and also find our square root for 9. And then we'll have our fraction. So let's do it together then. So let's find our square root for 4. First thing first, that will be 2, our square root for 4, right? So now let's find our square root for 9. So our square root for 9 is 3. And when we verify, what did I say? I said that we multiply the very same number with the number. So if we have, for example, 2, we'll say 2 multiplied by 2. And if it gives us 4, and then we are correct, because the square root of 4 equals to 2. So let's do it again with 3. So we'll say 3 multiply by 3, and that will give us 9. And square root for 9 equals to 3. So we are correct. So now we also have our multiplication. Our addition sign. So we need to add the fractions when we are done, right? Okay. So the next one, we have our square root. Inside our square root, we have our 1 negative 1 over 27 and to the power of 3, right? So when we do this one, guys, if before you can calculate this one, you need to simplify it first. We need to simplify it first before we can actually calculate, right? So when we do simplify this one, it's already simplified. You can see, because we have 1 over 27. We don't have a number that can be simplified, right? So in this case, then you will have to find a number that you can multiply it 3 times, and it gives you the very same number. For example, 1. When you multiply 1 3 times, what do you get? You get 1, right? You get 1. When you multiply 1 3 times, you receive 1. So we also need to find a number that we can multiply 3 times, and it must give us this very same number. For example, like 1. So when we did here, we try to find this very same number that when we multiply 3 times. Why? When we multiply 3 times, because on our square root here, we have to the power of 3. You can see this one right here. Here's our 3, just right here. Okay, so now let's find a number that we can multiply 3 times. And that particular number, we must find our cube root. It's called finding a cube root for our numerator and our denominator. So we need to find our cube root, the number that you can multiply 3 times, and it will give you the very same number. Because when you do it there in your calculator and try to find a square root for 27, can you guys tell me, what do you see there? Okay, but it's fine. Okay, I know what you get. You get 3, right? So basically, we need to find a number that when we multiply it 3 times, it must give us basically 27. So what is that particular number? That particular number is 3. So here's 3. When we multiply 3 times, it gives us 27. Why? Because of this power right here, to the power of 3. So when we multiply 3 times, it must give us 27. And here, guys, the normal square root, it's basically 2 to the power of 2. Can you see that? Because when we say 2 multiplied by 2, it gives us a square root, which is 4, which is a normal 4, right? But when we have to the power of 3, then it means that those 3 numbers, when you multiply them, you must get 27. For example, this one, right? So we need to find a number that we can multiply 3 times, and it will give us 27, and that particular number is our cube root for denominator and numerator. So what is our cube root for 27? I'm repeating myself. It's 3, right? So when you say 3, multiply by 3, multiply by 3. Tell me, what do you get? What is your answer there? Yes, most definitely your answer is 27. So it means that we are correct. Right. So now we need to add our fractions, but here we have a negative. We have negative 1 over 3, and we have a positive 2 over 3. In this case, our denominators are the same, so we no need to find our lowest common multiple. So there's no need to find our lowest common multiple, because we already have a common number, which is 3. Right, so obviously have our 3. Let me write it right. Okay, let's erase first. So obviously we have our 3, right? And when you say 2 plus negative 1, 2 plus negative 1 equals to what? 2 plus negative 1. So when we have a positive number and we are adding it with our negative number, that number will be positive. It's basically just saying 2 minus 1, and then our answer will be positive 1. When you are adding a positive number with a negative number, the answer will be positive. So our answer is 1 over 3. So correct. So let's move on to our activity. So our class activity right here. So here's our questions. We'll start with number 1, and then we'll move on to other numbers, but we won't finish it because we also have to finish this one right here, our home activity. So guys, can you please tell me the answer for number 1? Before I can do number 1 with you, can you please just try to do it yourself? Break number 1 down. We have open bracket 1/4, close bracket to the power of 2. So how did they get that one right there? So what is the answer for number 1? Guys, don't just press your calculator. You must actually do it yourself. Break it down and multiply it the way I taught you how to do it. Okay, so let's do our number 1. So number 1. So let's break our number 1 down. Obviously, we have 1/4 multiply by 1/4, which is 1 multiplied by 1 equals to 1. and 4 multiplied by 4 equals to 16, right? So in this case, we have our proper fraction. It means that we are not converting anything to a mixed fraction, right? So let's move on to number 2. So when we actually do number 2, we have 1, we have negative, right? So we need to break this negative down. So this negative right here, it means that both of those fractions inside the brackets are negative. Not only one, but both of them are negative. Not only one of them is negative. Both of the fractions, they are negative, right? So it means that we'll have negative 1 over 4 multiplied by negative 1 of 4 equals to. So guys, you know that when we multiply a negative number by a negative number, it becomes positive because the negatives cancels each other and it will be positive. This negative will cancel this negative and we'll have our answer will be a positive number. But then again, if we have to multiply, let's say negative 3 fractions, in that case our answer will be negative. Why? Only 2 fractions will cancel each other and the other fractions will stay negative, and that will make all the fractions negative, the final answer negative, right? So for example, if we have negative 2 multiply by negative 2 multiply by negative 2, our answer will be negative. Negative 2 multiply by negative 2 multiply by negative 2, your answer will be negative 8. But then let's say you only had to say negative 2 multiply by negative 2, then your answer would have been a positive 4 because the negative cancels each other. So in this case, number 2, our answer will be positive, right? So when we say 1 multiplied by 1, obviously it's 1. Negative 1 multiplied by negative 1, 1 positive 1. And then we'll say negative 4 multiplied by negative 4. And most definitely, we will have our positive 16, right? So let's do 2 more examples and then we'll do our home activity. Let's check this time. Okay, 15 minutes left. The time is moving so fast. Okay, so let's go to the, can I erase this? Okay, let me not erase this one and move to the next one. Okay, we'll do this one right here because this ones here, they are similar. So we'll do number 5 because it's a bit different from all of them. Let's write it down right here. So number 5, we had something like this. We had negative 1. Sorry, it's not negative 1. It was negative open brackets 1 and then 1 of 2 to the power of 2. So you know when we convert our mixed fraction to our proper fraction, what we do, we say 2 multiplied by 1 plus 1. So in this case, our numerator will be 3. So we'll have 3 over 2 to the power of 2. It's negative 3. And when you have a negative, even outside the bracket, it means the fractions inside, they are negative. They are not positives at all. Okay, so let's break it down before we can calculate this one. So obviously we have negative 3 over 2 and multiply by negative 3 of 2. So we have, again, we can't simplify this one, guys. We can't simplify this one. We don't have a highest common factor for 2 and 3 and yeah. So we'll just multiply the way we used to. So 3 multiplied by 3 equals to 9. And then you know the negatives cancel each other, right? So that's our positive 9 over 4. So we can still simplify this one, guys. So when we do simplify this one, can you please tell me the mixed fraction for this improper fraction? When we do convert it to a mixed fraction, what do you actually get? Just comment, just take your time there and comment there your answer. Your answer is, how many times does 4 goes into 9? How many times? Yes, correct. It goes 2 times. And what will be left? And you know, we always keep our denominator. Our denominator does not change, right? So since our denominator does not change, we'll keep it the very same way, right? So, and then the remaining number will be 1, and that will be correct. You'll probably get 4 marks or 5 marks. All right. So let's move on to the next question. So the next question we have open brackets 1, and then we have, okay, not 2, it's 1 over 2 to subtract open brackets 2 over third, close brackets to the power of 3. So we need to calculate these fractions right here, guys. So before we do calculate, you know, we need to convert our mixed fractions to our proper fractions, right? So we can work with similar fractions. So let's do this. 2 multiplied by 1 plus 1. And that will give us 3 over 2. We still have our brackets, remember. Subtract, this is our second step, right? And this one stays the same, over 3 to the power of 3. Now let's break it down. We are done converting, so now let's break it down. So when we do break it down, we'll have our 3 over 2 multiply by 3 over 2 minus, because here's our subtraction. Subtract, here it's 3, not 2. So we'll have 2 of third multiply by 2 of third multiply by 2 of third. This is your 3 right here. So guys, now let's calculate. Let's multiply our fractions. You see this one, we can also simplify it, so we need to multiply. So when we say, we'll start with the first section and we'll finish with the second section. So here we have 3 multiplied by 3. We'll start with this side first, and we also need to calculate this side first separately before we can subtract them, right? So 3 multiplied by 3 equals to 9, and then 2 multiplied by 2 equals to 4. Subtract, remember, we need to subtract. When we subtract, we'll get, I will say again, this side 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, and we will have our 8 of, and then we'll say 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3. This one, you probably know it by heart because we just did it right now. And the answer is yes, 27. Okay, so you know when we add our fractions and we subtract our fraction, we must get our lowest common multiple. Lowest common multiple. Right. So our lowest common multiple for 4 and 27. What is our lowest common multiple? This is the question for you guys, the question of the day. What is the lowest common multiple for 4 and 27? What is it? Okay, let's check the answers. Our lowest common multiple for 4 and 27. What is it? Guys, 10 minutes remaining before our class can end. What is the lowest common multiple for 27 and 4? gift, there is a number. Let's say there is a number. Kylie, lowest common multiple. We're only focusing on the denominator. We are changing our denominator. We are not changing our numerator, guys. We are only changing our denominator. We need to find our lowest common multiple for 4 and 27, and that's our denominator. It's not our numerator. We are not creating a fraction. We are only finding a lowest common multiple for 4 and 27. Okay, Preston is correct. Well done, Preston. Yes, our lowest common multiple for 4 and 27 is 108. Well done, everyone. Well done. Is 108. So here's our 100. Okay, let's have a clean slate so that you can get a full picture, guys. So we had 9 over 4 subtracting 8 over 27, and we had to get our lowest common multiple. So when we want our lowest common multiple is 108. Okay, so how many times did we move from 4 to actually reach that 108? So we basically moved 27 times. Guys, you can move as much as you can as long as you do find your lowest common multiple. So we moved 27 times to get our 108 as our lowest common multiple. So basically, we'll multiply it by 27, and how many times did we move with the multiples of 27 to actually reach 108? We moved 4 times. So we'll obviously multiply this one, this other fraction by 4 and by 4. So obviously our denominator is 8, and then 9 multiplied by 27 equals to 243, right? And then 4 multiplied by 8 equals to 32. Subtract 108, right? So now when we do subtract, our denominator does not change. So our denominator stays the same, which is 108. So now let's subtract them. Let's subtract 243 minus 32. How much do we get? Our answer is, yes, it's 211. So since our answer is 211, now let's convert our improper fraction to a mixed fraction, which is our proper fraction. Our proper fraction with a whole number, right? So how many times does 108 goes into 211? How many times? It goes 2 times, 3 times, 7 times, 20 times. Just comment there. How many times does 108 goes into 211? Okay, I know most of you got this one right. It only goes one time, guys. It only goes one time. So what will be the remaining number after this one? After that one time, what is our remaining number? 108 basically minus 211. That will give us 103 of, and you know that our denominator stays the same, it doesn't change. So our denominator will most definitely be 108. So now we are done. We are done with these fractions right here. And I hope you guys understood or did learn something from here. So now let's calculate our square root before we can actually end our lesson. All right. So let's do the first one. Where's the first one? The first one is, let's clear the first one. For our square root, we'll have square root, and then we'll have our fraction 16 of 25. And we actually did this one, guys. I know you know the square root of 16 by heart and the square root of 25 by heart. So now let's do our fractions. So basically we'll have we have the square root. We must find the square root of 16 over, and then we must also find the square root for 25. And then we have our square root, which is 4 of 5, because our square root for 25 is actually it's actually 5, right? So now let's move on to our other activities, because the time is up now, 3 minutes remaining. So let's move. Okay, guys, so now we are done with our examples. Okay, let's erase this pen. So guys, your home activity name. So your home activity for today, the fractions we didn't do right now, you'll complete those fractions. Okay, this is our class activity. We'll complete the fractions from this class activity, guys. Please take a screenshot. Please take a screenshot and tell your friends to come and join us. Please, guys, they can't miss this one. They can't miss this one. Please call your friends and your cousin to come and join us and come to our lessons right here, because it's really good. It's really good and everything. So let's move to the next one. So the next one, this is your home activity, guys. So in your home activity, I did number 26, and you will complete the remaining ones. And here again, I completed this one, so it means that you will complete the remaining one, which is our square root, and the other remaining questions we didn't do. So, okay, guys. Last week Friday we did solving problems. So yes, tomorrow, guys, we are doing our corrections. After doing our corrections, most definitely we are going back to solving our fractions, right? Guys, thank you so much for joining us again. I see a lot of familiar faces right here, and it makes me really happy. And when I'm happy, guys, I give you a Kahoot game. So tomorrow, after doing our solving problems, Wednesday, we are having our Kahoot game and having fun again, right? So take a screenshot and do your home activity, guys. It's important, because so that when we are in class and we are doing it together, I'm doing it with you guys, you won't get confused. But if you don't do it, then you'll be confused, guys. So please do it on your own. You have a lot of time. You have the whole day. After your lessons, after this lesson, you will have other lessons. And after those lessons, guys, just take your time to do your work. Just take your time, do your work and everything, and you will never regret it. Thank you so much. Take a screenshot. Thank you so much for joining us again today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take a screenshot of the questions and do it, please. Thank you. Bye.